His challenger is Dr. Mehmet Oz, who joins us tonight. Dr. Oz, thank you very much for coming on.
Good to be here.
In the case of Fetterman, since he is currently an office holder, he can be traced to very specific policies that have increased violent crime in the state of Pennsylvania. Did they not think that anyone was going to notice that when they put this man up for office?
Well, it's shocking when you hear Krasner speak there about a city he thinks he's protecting. But I've been in Philadelphia a lot during this campaign. I live in Philly. I went to school in West Philly. And if you actually talk to the people there, what they say is they don't want to be part of a white woke experiment, a social experiment where they're left with the consequences. And Fetterman, to your point, said that if he had a magic wand to do anything he wanted to, his goal would be to release murderers from life in prison. Now, Tucker, can you imagine having a magic wand to do anything you want? I mean, you could take care of inflation, although you don't need a magic wand for that. But there's lots of things you could do. But releasing murderers from life in prison without asking the families what they think, and oftentimes voting against the other members of the parole board, even other Democrats, is not aligned with the values of Pennsylvanians. Yet that's the position he has taken.
So many Pennsylvanians have died of fentanyl OD and opioid more broadly, but fentanyl, I would say specifically in the last year, that it really is, the numbers are almost beyond belief. And yet, I don't think stopping fentanyl importation, dealing, punishing fentanyl peddlers is a feature of any Democratic campaign. Why is that?
Because they're ignoring the humanitarian crisis they have created with feckless policies on the border. They've funded cartels inadvertently who make money trafficking human beings, take the money, buy fentanyl from China. We don't say anything to China about that, by the way. The fentanyl is brought to America like pieces of candy and unfortunately ends up in people's mailboxes. But Fetterman goes beyond that. That's what all the Democrats do. Fetterman says, I want to legalize all drugs. I want heroin injection sites. And he actually embraced a measure in Oregon, which was enacted 2 years ago with exactly those rules. And listen carefully, this is critical. 40% increase in overdose death rates. That's to be expected if you legalize all drugs. But here's the part that catches me. 50% increase in homicides. You create a lawless environment. Police aren't allowed to do their job, which is to confiscate narcotics. And this is the world that he's trying to create for us. And by the way, if you're bothered by this, and I was bothered enough to run against them, please go to droz.com and support me, because the Democratic Party doesn't even know this about him. They're just trying to get the 51st Senate seat. So they're pouring money into Pennsylvania. So droz.com will at least give me some support against them. But we're going to win on the issues. Just like all the Republicans that you've mentioned today, the debate we're having tomorrow night is going to reinforce John Fetterman's radical positions. The momentum we have is a direct response of focusing on kitchen table issues. Crime, drugs, we mentioned both with the border, and of course the economy, everyone's focused on. Although if you're in Philadelphia right now, you're worried about your life, and companies are leaving, big chains leaving the city because they're done with the experiment.
I got to just ask you, and I'm sure you don't like to go to motive, but it's amazing to me. 107,000 Americans die of drug ODs last year, and here's a guy promoting drug legalization when we know it will result in more deaths. Why would anyone push an idea like that at a time like this?
Because they're more concerned about the perpetrator or the criminal than the innocent and the victims. They don't hear the stories that I've been witnessing as I campaign of moms telling me that they've found their children blue and dead because they went on Facebook and signed up for a over-the-counter pain pill and it ended up having fentanyl in it. We confiscated 7 times more fentanyl in Pennsylvania this quarter than 2 years ago, according to the State Patrol. And by the way, and all the law enforcement groups have endorsed me because they know Fetterman doesn't have their back, and I'll fight hard to let them do their job. But, Tucker, that's part of the problem. When you talk to the left-leaning politicians, on the far left especially, they don't want the police to do their jobs. They don't want anyone to do their jobs. And they don't want to, therefore, deal with the consequences of it, so they don't come downtown to the prayer vigils I've attended. They haven't gone to Kensington, which is the largest open-air drug market in the country that we created with these bizarre beliefs that you can give people drugs and it's okay. Believe me, taking heroin long-term is not a good strategy. You're not going to do well. And because I know that and I love these people and I see the divine spark going out in their eyes, I want to take them to detox, put them in rehab, and I'll fund that when I'm in the Senate. Why wouldn't you want that? And again, this is something we should all be rooting for. This should be a bipartisan desire to make the country stable.
It's really stunning to me. And what's also stunning is I think you're going to win this Senate seat in a Democratic state because of the things you're saying right there. And I appreciate it. Dr. Oz, thank you. Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson Tonight.